price. So primarily, that's the #1 battle that we have, is to ensure that there's competition in offering the scrambled services, and therefore the consumer is going to set the price on the basis of what he's willing to pay, not a cable monopoly setting the price.
Now, let me issue a warning on that, though. These cable guys are pretty soon going to figure it out, and they're going to be talking, they're going to be into your market. So they don't know anything right now, but a lot of these little cable companies are going to start figuring it out and enter into this business too.
By the way, we'd like to hear from dealers and consumers out there about how they've tried to get programming or trying to get the cable company to work with it and what the results of that has been. Can we have the next question, please? From Archie.
Yeah, it's Mr. Ziviola from Pennsylvania, and my question is directed to Mr. Howard. I believe his name's Howard, but I'm here in Taylor as well. I am a member of SPACE, and thank you for that. But I need to ask Mr. Howard, if it is Mr. Howard, a question that was challenged to him by Keith LaMonica, and this was in reference to H.R. 3989. Is he in support of it? And secondly, do you have any comments on the Chuck Dawson class action libel suit in reference to scrambling? And I'll just listen to your comments.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, I'm in support of it. The basic legislation that's been proposed in all cases is good. It needs work. It needs work in committee. It needs some help from us, whichever legislation it is. And the legislative track, when you get into it, it does require a lot of work on these things. That's basically a good piece. I haven't heard Mr. LaMonica's challenge, and I don't care really to comment on what Mr. Dawson is doing. I would like to see both of these gentlemen become a little better informed about what's actually going on. I think that if they were, you'd find out that a lot of the controversy that we have right now would calm down, and they would be causing a lot less unrest in the industry.
Next caller, Thomas.
Hello.
Hello, Thomas.
Yes. I have a question for Taylor and Howard. My partner and I were at Washington, D.C., I think it was October the 29th for Satellite Day, and we signed up for as dealers, and we've never received any notification from SPACE.
Oh. Well, you don't get to talk to me about that. I'm going to talk to Mr. Hewitt about that. What's going on, Chuck?
You say, let me make sure I understand it correctly. You signed up as a dealer member, but you never received anything from us?
That is correct.
Well, that is a serious problem, and we'll correct that right away.
Is there someone on the phones back there that can take this gentleman's? Okay.
It'll be taken care of right now.
Okay.
Sorry that happened. I have no reason or know why that could have possibly happened.
Boy, that was an exciting day. I can understand a few things falling in the crack.
Yeah. Do we have the next caller? Next caller, please.
Say hello.
Hello, Ron.
Yes, I'm watching you here on TV, and I wanted to file a complaint with a cable company. And I figured if I do it through you people, everybody can listen to it. I had a deal going with a local cable company manager that was going to sell me the subscribers for my customers. And when he went to his boss told him no. And he's the only local cable company in the area that I can, that I've talked to. Is there any way we can fight these local people or anything?
Ron, are you still there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Tell me exactly what your problem with them is.
Okay, I have a local cable company.
Yeah, right.
That I went down and talked to the manager, which is in part of a local, they have a large global cable company here, but it's a local cable company from Maine Cable, from public cable here in Maine.
Yeah.
And the manager there thought it was a great idea. He was already, I was going to take care of the sales, I was going to take care of the installations, I was going to take care of all the necessity for the customer to have the subscriptions. And all he had to do was collect the money. In other words, have the customer send him the checks, take care of everything. I was going to do the installations, everything. And he loved it. But he went to his boss. He's just a manager of a local cable company. So he went to his boss, and they shot me down. They shot the whole idea down. They won't let him touch it.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of that. There's a real adjustment going on. We're seeing cable companies very strongly penetrate this without using existing dealers. We're seeing agreements like you were doing, wherein the dealer does the hardware, the cable company does the decoder, and the cable company agrees then not to do the hardware, and the dealer says he'll never sell decoders, that sort of thing. I would warn you about any one of these. I've known a lot of people in the cable business, and I've never really known someone that was a bad businessman. These people are in business, and they're looking at this right now. They're looking at your business. They want a part of your action. And I would be very wary about entering into any sort of long-term agreement because, as I said earlier, the prices for the decoders, the prices for the video are going to go down. It's become a very competitive market. So you really want to keep an eye on him. You want to satisfy your customers. You want to let him satisfy his. But you really want to keep an eye on him because he's potentially a very strong competitor with you once he really wakes up. And I think what happened is that the guy who's ultimately responsible did a little homework, woke up and said, let's keep this for ourselves.
One thing we would like to hear from you, though, is if you just jot down what happened and send it into space, we'd like to have that documented. We have a next caller, please.
Hello?
Jack?
Yes, just Jack Whittaker, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yes, and my question is, I'm a avid listener of Mr. LaMonica, FM America. I'm a strong supporter of Mr. Dawson. Both of those gentlemen make perfect sense to me when I listen to them, and I listen to them nightly, believe me. My radio, or my TV is a radio now. They make sense to me. You make sense to me, Mr. Howard. Why can't you two make sense to each other? I mean, why can't there be a common meeting ground between you, Mr. Dawson, and Mr. LaMonica? That seems so simple to me.
Yeah, it seems simple to me, too. And I've, as you know, I've been on Mr. LaMonica's show several times and tried to come to accommodation. I'm not mad at Keith right now. I wish that my life would be a lot easier if he would try and understand some of our problems and join in a little bit, but
who needs to make the first move?
I'm still trying. I'm still making the moves. I'm there all the time. I'll be glad to talk to him. No sweat.
That would be a go-between.
Yeah. No sweat. I have a little trouble. I listen to it too, and I have a little trouble making sense out of it a lot of the time. But I think the reason I have trouble making sense out of so much of it is that it's a matter of positive attitude, and you really got to be in there being positive about things. You won't get anything done, and the negative stuff just doesn't gain anything. I mean, if these guys are mad at us, they ought to come in and try and change it internally instead of stirring up other people like you that got more productive things to do. I mean, come and join us and help out, and we'll make it work.
Intelligent people should be able to communicate, and there's something lacking that I pray that something is done. All that money that both are spending, if it were spent on a common cause, it could do a whole lot more than it's doing.
Well, I certainly applaud your attitude, and I hope that you can use some of that on both Mr. Dawson and Mr. LaMonica to get it there. I'm willing to talk anytime with either one of them, anywhere.
Okay. If each of you would go half a mile, it would, halfway it would get done. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for your concern.
We're going to have to ask that the calls stop now because we're going to go on to the next session, a panel that I think you're going to enjoy. We appreciate having the opportunity of being here. We'll open the phones again probably in about 20, 25 minutes, so if you don't mind, hang up and then call. We're going into a commercial now. We've enjoyed it. I think that we're going to see more of us tomorrow and 6 hours, I guess, tomorrow, and then we hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Hang on, commercial, and then the panel will be back.
Tremendous growth of the satellite industry has given birth to a unique trade show, the Satellite Opportunities Expo for Home and Business. Sponsored by Satellite Opportunities and KU Band World magazines and the University of Mississippi, the Expo brings together for the first time home and business applications for satellite communications. The Satellite Opportunities Expo and Conference will be held at Nashville's famous Opryland Hotel, April 6th through 8th. The Expo includes special conferences for home TVRO and satellite business services and showcases KU Band technology. Pre-register and save 25%. Pre-registration for the Home TVRO Conference and Trade Show is $30, $40 at the door. And for the Satellite Business Conference, $95 or $120 at the door. Registration for either conference includes the full 3 days of the trade show. For more information, just call toll-free 1-800-922-2812. The Satellite Opportunities Expo, 1-800-922-2812. Call today.
Welcome back. We've got another exciting segment for you to take you to the close of our show tonight. We've got a pretty distinguished panel here. I'd like to introduce them from my far right. We're going to have comments from each one of them. We'll be opening up the phone lines in a few minutes to take some more calls from you. First of all, I'd like to start out by introducing Lloyd Covens, editor and publisher of Channel Guide, Mr. Chuck Abbott, a satellite dealer from Las Vegas, Nevada, Hale Haley, a satellite dealer from Waldorf, Maryland, Mary Lou Hines, a member of the Space Dealer Board and a satellite dealer from New Albany, Indiana, Irv Cook, Vice President of Marketing for U.S. Operations for TCOM Electronics, Mr. Bud Ross from Birdview Satellite, President of that company, and Bob Cooper, publisher of Coop Satellite Digest. I think before we open up the phone lines and have any general discussion between us, I'd like to get a comment from each one of you. Lloyd, one of the things we'd like to discuss tonight, and hopefully help some of the dealers out there, is to get a perception from you and from each of the panelists on how you see marketing trends changing, well, let's say over the past year especially, since we've entered into the age of problems, the age of scrambling and the adverse advertising and that. Give us some of your insights, and if you'd like to share some information on other areas, feel free to do so.
Well, I think, Jerry, what's changed in the last year that's significant is probably that old cliche attitude. If I take a year ago or even Nashville, we have had over 5 years a different level of people getting in the business. And the folks who I feel like I've talked today and yesterday too, who've been in the business 4 years, 3 years, they've got a little bit better feeling that we're going to get through this, and it's not the end of the world, and we certainly are not going to stop dead in our tracks as far as an industry. Some of the newer dealers, I'm afraid, have fallen into the gravy train mentality, I don't know how else to put it, where everything you touched turned gold. Everybody you saw wanted the technology, wanted the product, and we need to adjust to take on the real world. And I know one of our panels tomorrow is selling in a scrambled environment. I think that there's adjustments to be made this year in KU band. There's adjustments to be made in the overall way in which we examine our access to programming question. So those dealers who take a kind of a new look to the market as it stands right now, I think it should be very positive. We have a great deal left in our control, unlike, say, the oil business, unlike the computer business, and we have forged this technology, and I hate to see people turn negative, because my view is we have a short downturn that we can bounce back from ourselves.
Most definitely. You've done some surveys recently. You want to share some results with us on those?
We have, about a week ago, published a consumer survey, and unfortunately only 402 of those have come in thus far, but this was tabulated 2 days ago. Some of the interesting notes as far as decoder pricing or decoder desirability, Channel Guide's consumer survey showed us that at this juncture, only about 8% of the readers are planning on buying a decoder, but 48% say they might buy a decoder. On the maybe category, only 44% is still a significant number have said no, they will not buy a decoder. I thought it was interesting to note that 73% of the survey came back as owning a VCR. 27% know that they did not own a VCR. And as far as monthly fees, again, we didn't tie the two questions as to would you buy a decoder and then buy programming, but leaving them separate, 189 or 49%, 47% rather, said they would not pay a monthly fee. 26% said up to $10. 23% said they would be willing to pay $10 to $20 a month, and 3% said $20 to $30. Under 1% said over 30. Interestingly enough, one of the topics we'll look at tomorrow at the 11 a.m. session here at Pacific time will be on this question of rates and how program packagers and how premium services might likely be priced in the future. It is a new survey as far as information, but it's probably a bit premature in view of we haven't really gone into scrambling of other signals, and we haven't really examined how decoders will be built in, which is something I'm sure Bud Ross is going to want to talk about. So we're in a transition. I look at the survey results as being positive in as much as 50% say we'll buy a box or maybe we will, and a good percentage, 50%, would be willing to pay up to $20 a month. So I think there's an accommodation there, even in these early stages.
Very good. Next, Chuck Abbott, you're a dealer here in Las Vegas. How are you finding things? Did you have a turn down in your business, as a lot of dealers did? Did you change marketing strategy? Has things been good? Give us a little insight from a dealer's perspective.
We found a very definite turn down after the first of the year. We went pretty strong right up until Christmas time, but January was rather bleak, and the first few weeks of February started off the same way. I think that I fell into a trap that many others did for a while, and that is just hoping that the good old days of last summer would somehow come back. And we decided instead to hit the scrambling issue head on. We've developed a pretty heavy campaign with both newspaper and TV with what we call a scramble busting plan, where with the purchase of any system, we're providing a decoder and a one-year subscription to HBO with the system. We were able to negotiate some very good prices on the prepayment of a subscription plan with one of the local cable operators here. And the other thing that became obvious to us, that even with some heavy advertising, we still weren't getting the numbers of people walking into our showroom that we would like. We decided to take our show back out on the road, much in the manner that we did 3 and 4 years ago. We were in a home show in a local mall here last week with very good success. Got my salesmen hyped up again and believing in the industry because they got to talk to people, and we were able to make some sales. With that behind us, we're planning now to try every weekend to be out there in the public somewhere. The key thing is just to be able to talk to people. If you can talk to them face to face, present all the issues, show them the programming that's available, we've found some success. You can't just depend on people coming back in the showroom based on a price leader in the newspaper. Got to be more creative than that.
Very good. We've talked in the last few weeks on the show about the enthusiasm that we need to regenerate amongst the dealers. It sounds like you've either listened to the show or you've caught on, maybe a little ahead of us, but it sounds good. I'm glad to hear that. Hal, you were on a few weeks ago, gave us some insights. You showed us the decoder yourself. I know you were incorporating that possibly in some or all of your sales. How do you see the trends, and what's happening in business with you?
Well, as we talked about earlier, we're finding basically what Chuck is finding. The main thing that we have to do is get the positive attitude back. The attitude that this business is going somewhere. In fact, personally, I feel the next 30 to 60 days maximum, we're going to need more people to put them in the ground, because this is an industry that's viable and positive, so all we have to do is inform the people, yes, scrambling's occurred, big deal, here's a decoder, let's go on with business, and it's just as simple as that. There's no free rides, there never has been. We've been in this business, I think someone mentioned here that a few minutes ago that the people have been in the business a while. We've been in about 5 years, and we recognized all along that there was going to be this was going to happen someday, and it finally did, and great, let's go on with business. I think one thing we might want to do on a sales standpoint is put a little bit more pressure on the pay-per-view services, because I think that's where it's going to be very meaningful to the consumer, these pay-per-view services. A few weeks ago, Request TV, for example, which is not now dealing with us, showed Rocky IV, for example. Now, that's pretty new stuff, and I think that's pretty potent. So we need to work on that a little bit also.
Very good. Mary Lou, you get a lot of the insights from dealers around the country, being a dealer board member, and we've talked over the last few years. I know that you've been quite active. You have another business. You're one of those dealers we've talked about who the diversity has helped you through some of the tough times now, but you're selling. Besides the fact that your husband works in the business with you, what do you attribute your success in maintaining the sales?
Okay, of course, as you say, we've been in the electrical construction business together for many years. I won't tell you how many. We've been in the satellite business almost 6 years now. And we started out selling quality equipment, and we have never stopped doing that. We have always kept our customers informed. I do a newsletter every quarter, and I tell them what's going on in the industry. They knew the scrambling was coming. They knew as soon as I had information on the decoders, they would get it. And they're my best advertisers. And so we did have a couple of weeks really that really got slow, but we have also used telemarketing. And we're able to reach people that we can't reach any other way. And we find that if we can talk to these people and come into their home and explain it to them, just explain it the way it is, it's no problem. They really want those dishes. And so I think that the main thing is to be honest, sell good equipment, and just don't give up. It's a great industry, and we're committed to it.
Very good. Irv, what insights can you give us from a manufacturer's viewpoint? You talk to dealers all over the country, in Canada as well, because TCOM is a Canadian manufacturer. What do you see as market trends? You've been in the industry long enough now so that you can make some comparisons and tell us some insights. Maybe you have an idea or two for our dealers.
Well, let's first talk about the thing that I have been talking to dealers at seminars about, and that is the VCR program that we've been discussing all along. And that is that I did a very intensive survey the end of December in taking one of the publications and going through the month of January, programming for the month of January for HBO in primetime hours between 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock. I consider primetime East Coast time. In those hours between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock for the entire month of January, there were 16 movies that were being shown on HBO for the first time. Those 16 movies were 25% of total programming during prime time. 75% of the programming in January had been seen months earlier or way back months earlier and repeated again and again. Assuming that Showtime and the other movie channel and Cinemax and HBO are all the same price, let's say they're all $12.95, and a decoder is $395. The consumer is now going to invest in the first year $873. Rather than the dealer getting involved even with HBO, and I've been optimistic since this thing started. I think our business is headed straight uphill, but let's get back to the VCR thing. 873 movies could be rented, because you can rent movies for $1 a piece anywhere now. 873 movies could be rented for the same price. That's 2.4 movies per day, 7 days a week, which you could never watch all those movies. And you can watch them at the times that you want to watch them, not that favorite movie that you wanted to watch tonight and HBO is showing it at 1:30 in the morning. So you have a choice now of movies also that you're going to see 1 year before HBO gets them. So my contention all along has been, who needs them? And the dealers that have heard this at the seminars have gone out and tried this and have remarked that yes, it works. It's great. And it's been good. We've got those favoritisms thrown at the dealer. I have to give Joe and Millie Fontenot and their entire crew credit for what they did as far as the advertisers are concerned, which is going to be presented tomorrow night on the show tomorrow night. In all of us banding together, massing on the advertisers, and I think that effect is going to also help us tremendously. And that's going to be presented tomorrow night. I'm not going to get into it anymore. But the VCR thing has worked, and there's a million other ideas to have a positive attitude about this business rather than the negative attitudes that a lot of the dealers have out there.
Very good. Bud, what's happening at Birdview? And tell us, how have things changed, and what are some of the things that are happening with your dealers? You've probably got one of the largest networks of dealers throughout the country, and I'm sure you get a lot of feedback, and you obviously have had a close handle on the industry, sales trends, marketing trends for the last few years. What's happening and over the last 6 months, and especially today?
Seems as though we've sort of trailed exactly what I've been seeing reported as total number of sales. We felt that for some time we've had around 5% of the total market numbers of systems, possibly a little more revenue because of the way we do distribute our product and the prices we charge. We noticed that our sales went right along. Our percentages were very positive month after month. January through August, September, sales are way up. Our sales are up. October is down some. November was down some. December was down some. And January was kind of a low that we'd hit for possibly 2 years. As a way to combat that, we announced that we have been working on a receiver with the built-in decoder and have put on an advertising campaign with the dealers who are cooperating in that campaign. Would allow a person who purchases a complete system to come back later this summer, this fall, and exchange his present receiver for one with a built-in decoder. Someone asked me last evening, said, well, how can you afford it? For one thing, we raised our price. And the other thing, we quit paying free freight and the things, you know, we were making deals and we just, larger volumes, and we decided that if we're going to do this program, and it seems to be the one that's most important, that we better just, in order to provide the funding for it, we would hold our price, and I don't think dumping merchandise certainly is going to help Birdview any. But if we can give continued service to the dealers and try to produce quality products, I think in the long run it'll pay off for us. I don't think the marketplace is a whole lot different than it was 5 years ago when I first met Bob Cooper, Taylor Howard, Rick Brown down in Houston. Was my first exposure to it. Would have been, I believe, 5 years ago last November. And I looked at the situation. I said, well, I wonder why people are buying these, you know. And I thought, well, you know, that's quite a toy, you know. And I got to look and say, well, if America really is going to use such an item, there's got to be some reason behind it besides something that myself or Bob Cooper would enjoy back there playing with it and see what all, or Taylor Howard need, you know, to figure out how it's working and why and what other satellite we can find. It boils down to, finally concluded that it boils down to the fact that people like to watch television. And the question is, how much would they pay to watch TV? Second question is, how much more would they pay to watch more television? I think that's really still the same. I don't think the real reason why people are buying an earth receive system is a whole lot different. So whether we have a system that sets on one satellite, whether it'll only pick up the unscrambled signals or whether it'll will also provide the encryption to allow them to purchase more, whether it's movies, sports, news, music, special events. I think the story's still the same. It's how much are they willing to pay for the amount of TV they want to watch.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bob, what kind of insights can you give us tonight? You kind of touch a little bit different aspect of the industry. Sometimes you get down a little bit more with the installers, the technicians. You talk to an awful lot of dealers. You're very technically oriented, you have been in the past, and you talk to a broad spectrum of people in the industry. How do you perceive marketing changes, if you do, and what suggestions can you give us?
Well, Jerry, it's all attitude. What I've heard repeatedly here, starting with Lloyd and coming all the way across the stages, it's the attitude of the seller and the attitude of the buyer that seems to have changed rather dramatically. It doesn't take a genius to identify why that attitude change occurred. And I liken it a little bit to a pretty young lady, all right? Our industry has been a very attractive, very supple young thing for about 5 years now. And if you can picture in your mind this portrayal that I will paint for you, sir.
Does it have anything to do with us being in Las Vegas?
Not a thing.
Okay.
Not a thing. In fact, we'll put her on the boardwalk in Fort Lauderdale, if that'll put your mind at ease, all right? A supple Fort Lauderdale young lady.
Okay.
All right. And for a number of years, we as an industry, as well as this mythical young lady that I see a portrayal of, has been walking through life pretty much ignoring the realities of the real world. And Lloyd touched on it. And that was that the programming, as Bud just said, the programming never was free, and it was never totally available to us. It was accessible. And just like a young lady who drew lots of whistles, got a lot of attention, and felt very proud of herself. And suddenly some cad jumped out of an alleyway and jumped in front of this pretty young lady and said, "You're a whore." Well, that would break your heart.
I'm not going to Fort Lauderdale, I'll tell you that.
Well, there's sections you should stay away from, and next time you visit, I'll show you where not to go. Setting that aside, the whole industry was just grabbed their heart and said, "My God, what is it we've been doing that would draw this sort of an attack?" Because that's basically what happened here, is that we were told we were really nasty people, and that what we had been doing was fertilizing, as it were, an attitude amongst the general public that led them to also believe that this was all forever going to be free. Well, the reality is it took us 6 weeks. I think we've recovered remarkably quickly to the truth, which was that, one, we're not whores. The service we provide is exceptionally valuable to the American public, or there wouldn't be 1.5, 1.7, 2 million. God knows if we ever learn how to count, we're really going to succeed in this business. That the service was not only exceptionally valuable, but I think, by and large, the American public who already own satellite terminals, give them another 3 or 4 months to adjust to the fact that this is a business enterprise, not just the hardware, but the software as well. And I don't think we'll see the kind of problems we now perceive as problems in the marketing of the software. I've heard several people here at the show say they are willing or expect to announce sometime between now and Friday that you can buy any 2 premium services for $9.95, $10.95, $11.95. Far lower, that's any 2, I said, not 1, but 2. Far lower prices, and Taylor alluded to that earlier in the program this evening. So, one word, attitude. The attitude about who we are and what we do is changing because we're growing up, and that's good.
We're actually a bunch of nice guys and ladies, and what we need to do is to realize that, like you say, the enthusiasm we need to generate that we've all had. This has always been a very enthusiastic industry. Every trade show has always been upbeat. This one definitely is. The attitude adjustment that you're talking about, I think, has taken place out there over the last couple of weeks, and as people are coming in, we're starting to see people register at the booths for the show tomorrow, and the exhibitors as well. This excitement, some of the old excitement is back, but there's a new excitement as well. It's very good. We're going to go to
maturity. Okay?
Yeah, we're going to go to the phone lines right now. Before we do that, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow we have 2 uplinks. We have a 3-hour session in the morning, which will start off with the opening ceremonies of the trade show, with an address by Taylor Howard again, and some other activities, which will be told at that time exactly what the times and places will be. Then at 6 p.m. tomorrow night, we're going to be live broadcasting Dealer Rally, which will have a panel forum similar to this one, a different cast of people with some probably different views, some different input for marketing tips and what have you, and followed by a 2-hour seminar sponsored by the manufacturers. Right now, I believe we have some phone calls waiting. Bob, go ahead.
Yes.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. I have a question about basically the network and the superstation scrambling. I'm not really concerned with the pay channel so much. I'm a private dish owner, and basically I bought my dish just to receive a lot of the networks and the superstations. What is your viewpoint on them scrambling?
Bob?
Yes. Mary, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think the realities here are yet to come in. It's Lloyd's survey still being counted, but my guess would be that we're going to see an erosion of the availability of network programming over the next couple of years. It won't happen with the suddenness that we've seen with home box office, and it probably will have a far shorter germination cycle between the time they announce it and it actually happens. The networks present a unique problem for this reason. The feeds that you see in Pensacola from ABC, CBS, and NBC are directed specifically at the stations themselves. And the stations do not air them as you see them. The stations air them after they've been massaged by the individual local affiliates in Pensacola, Mobile, wherever that might be. And that's a process that's part of the commerce, the business they're in. I think that as an industry, we have got to recognize that the network service is very important and that we have to do something about it. And I think that's one area where, Jerry, we can do something for this reason. We probably cannot for many years in all honesty, create multiple movie services, for example, because of the expense involved. We probably cannot compete and create multiple sports programming channels. But I do think that we can put up on satellite at some time in the next 2 years, perhaps 3 years, as an industry, replacement network services that will make available CBS, NBC, ABC programming from broadcast affiliates of those 3 networks, thereby getting around the problem of watching inside the network service itself. So, Mary, I would have good confidence that your interest in the continuation of network service is going to be there. I think the form of it will change, but I think very, very strongly I believe that you will never miss an NBC, ABC, or CBS program as a result of the eventual scrambling of those services. It'll just be there in a slightly different form.
Okay, we have another call waiting. Judy, go ahead.
Yes, I'm addressing this question to Mr. Bud Ross from Birdview Satellite.
Bud?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, Mr. Ross, my husband and I are dealers. We've been satellite dealers for about the last 6 years. You can ask Mr. Bob Cooper there. Coop knows us very well. We were a Birdview dealer, okay? Birdview approached us 2 years in a row, a couple of years ago, to make us a Birdview dealer. And, you know, after looking over the product, we thought it was good. They had the first block system, and we took them on. Now, we've been in the electronics business a long time, myself since 1970. Okay, we are a television dealer. Okay, we have a service shop in the whole 9 yards. We did the best we could with Birdview. We sold a lot of systems. We pushed product. We had problems. You know, everybody has problems with product, and you got to work together to solve your problems and keep your customer happy, because that's the bottom line. Okay, every time we tried to call Birdview to talk to Mr. Ross, we were told, quote, unquote, Mr. Ross doesn't talk to dealers. Okay? This is what we were told. After, let's see, about 2 or 3 months of this, our dealership was taken from us. No reason was given, okay? To this day, it was given to a competitor in the same town who had only been in the business for about 6 months. Okay, now I've lost, all those Birdview customers that I sold to. Okay, my question is, if we can't work together and solve our individual problems as dealer and manufacturer, how the hell are we going to win the war with scrambling? Okay, this is my question. This is the first chance I've had to talk to you, Mr. Ross, in over a year.
Okay.
You took our dealership, and I would like you to call me at my store tomorrow because I'd like to talk about it with you. I think it is very important. Okay, we've got, business is slow anyway, but I've got enough problems just, trying to get the customers that I've already sold, telling them about scrambling and telling them the truth, because we always have done that. But here we've lost valuable customers, and they were taken from you, by you, from us, and given to our competitor. Now, what's your explanation for that?
Well, for not talking to dealers, it's pretty obvious I don't have the time to talk to everyone. We have about 15 dealers, and I apologize if there's been any mistreatment to any of the dealers. However, it's just absolutely impossible to run the company. To begin with, it's a publicly held company, which requires quite a bit of time. We design our products, we manufacture our own products, we try our best to market them in an orderly, fair manner, and we even deliver the products. So for me to take the time to talk to the dealers, it's not that I wouldn't like to. Certainly I'd be more than happy to talk with you or any other dealer. And I do apologize, and I'll certainly check with the marketing people to find out why this situation occurred.
Okay.
But can I inject that with 1,500, you said 15, I know you meant 1,500 dealers, you've gone through a tremendous growth cycle in the 4.5 years you've been in business. And I think that you would be the first to agree that you've, in selecting the 1,500 dealers, it's been tough to get 1,500 perfect ones, and that you probably have made some errors in the sense of just selecting them. Is there a way for someone like this, who, and I will vouch for the Showers, who have the experience, is there a way for them to come back to a company such as yours and say, look, we would like you to reconsider it?
I'm certainly, I'm sure that we have had dealers who at one time, some period of time was not a dealer, and then would reinstate as a dealer. I would certainly welcome anyone who was interested in our products and to at least inquire and see if we can work out whatever the disagreements are. One of the things that we've tried to do is to provide some protection, and here's the thing that Judy just mentioned, that apparently they had the dealership and now someone else has it, and I'm sure there's been some business situations that may have occurred even at some other time, possibly similar to this. But again, it's very difficult to control all of those situations evenly. I don't really have a present answer for this particular
Sure.
circumstance,
But it's been an evolving system. All manufacturers have been faced with this kind of a problem. I just wanted, really to give you the opportunity to say, in effect, by the time you end up with 1,500 active stocking dealers, you're going to make a few errors, and in the process of doing that, though, as long as there's a way for someone like the Showers to come back and have another shot at it, then I don't see how anybody could ask any more of you.
No. Well, certainly, I would certainly welcome the Showers to be a dealer. Would like to, again, discuss what the situation happened, and so that we don't do the same thing to another dealer in the process of solving one problem, create another one. I have not been active in the marketing of the Birdview's products. I've been active in other businesses that I've had in previous years, but this situation really required a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to do the things other than the marketing, and I'll take it up with the marketing people. And rather than give an answer, I can't give a solid answer about this situation.
Of course not. Okay, Judy, we got you an answer. Jerry?
Okay, Sean, we got another call waiting. Sean, are you there?
Fred. Out in Las Vegas, downtown Panama City. Got a question, Lloyd, and I've been everybody seen you in Las Vegas. One thing that's bothered me, clarify the difference between...
Sean?
Sean, are you there? I guess we lost. Sean, are you there?
Fred.
Hello?
Sean, you need to turn down your television set.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, if you keep your TV set turned down, sir. Go ahead. Speak to us.
All right. Basically, I'm wanting to know the difference, if there is any difference between Viewer's Voice, Viewer's First, and Viewer's Choice. As a small cable operator and satellite dealer since 1983, seems to be a lot of misinformation in the last couple of days on some of the talk shows. And I'm wondering, can you tell me if there is any difference between Viewer's First and Viewer's Choice?
Yeah, there's very much a difference between the two. They have nothing to do with each other from what I know. Does anybody have any information contrary to that?
Well, we're looking at a situation where Viewers First National was put together by Bud Ross, as well as Jim Rothbarth, Sandy Worth, and Rick Brown a little over a year ago. And their intent has been to become program packagers. So far, they have only signed Select TV on the basis of its future scrambling plans, which are well into next year. Viewers First, as it's known, is not actively marketing. Along comes this past June at the cable show, National Cable Show, Showtime and the Movie Channel, who have decided to get into the pay-per-view business, and they announced that they would be making one movie available per week on a rotation basis. And they didn't have a name in June, and lo and behold, when they rolled out the program in August, they picked the name Viewer's Choice. So Viewer's Choice is Showtime's pay-per-view service, Satcom 3, Transponder 5. Viewers First is a business, but it's not yet active in selling to the satellite earth station market. Hopefully there won't be a massive amount of confusion between the two.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, we have another call. Dan, go ahead.
Okay, yes, I'm calling from Pocatello, Idaho, and I want to put this question to the panel as a whole. One of the things, I'm a TVRO dealer in Pocatello, and one of the things I see in my showroom all the time, the first question that's always asked is about scrambling. That seems to be number one in the customer's mind as far as scrambling. What I'd like to know and put to the panel is, okay, we're talking about a national advertising campaign to talk about the question of scrambling. What's going to be available after, this scrambling's taken place? Well, I get customers into my showroom all the time that say that, my satellite system is going to be totally useless after scrambling takes place. But what I was wondering, what does the panel feel about a, say like a fund, a national fund being set up through distributors and manufacturers with, say, $1, $2 rebate going back to some sort of advertising campaign to counteract these, the blitz that, say, HBO and Cinemax and CNN News is a good example, and Headline News. You turn around every day and you see them playing this up about every other month as far as scrambling. You know, your systems are going to be totally useless after this all takes place. They're a very well organized unit as far as the cable companies and these paid-per-view channels go. What we need to do as an industry is get a little bit more unified as far as putting it out to the customer and to the people as to what's going to be available to them after scrambling takes place. I get people into my showroom all the time. They all know what the price of the paid-per-view channels are right now. They want $20 for both channels, and they also know the price of the decoders, $395. That goes to show me that they've done a good job as far as educating the public that scrambling is going to take place. Now, what we need to do is turn around and do the opposite and show them what's going to be available after scrambling takes place and what's going to be available to them in the future with satellite systems. So I'd like to put that to the panel to see what they say about that.
Hal, why don't you answer that question?
Well, I think what we have here is we've got a multiple question here. There's a lot of parts to it. I think the main thing that we have to realize is that as an industry, we are spending a lot of money in a lot of different directions. I'm on the dealer board of directors also, and the idea is excellent from the advertising standpoint, but we got some other things we have to deal with also. So what it comes down to, the individual dealers, we've prepared a packet, I think, that Chuck discussed earlier, and that packet is mailed to dealers. This packet you can get together with other dealers in your area, fund it, get the information out. Press releases, we're now getting ready to look at some public relations firms and find out how we can be more effective in that regard. As regards the customer walking into the showroom and saying, hey, what about scrambling? I think that's the wonderful, great, I love it. That's our response. I checked with the office today. We sold 5 systems yesterday, and I think the lowest price system was about $3,700. Now, I don't know, maybe we're a unique bird. I don't think so. I think that our attitude has always been that this is a positive step, and let's go on with business. Does that help?
He's gone. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, I heard the word on the new information program they're going to put out to inform the public. Is that going to supersede the sweepstakes program that we signed up for down at the Earth Station Day in Washington, D.C.?
What are you referring to, the information program? Are you referring to Space Showtime?
The advertising campaign you're talking about tonight.
Go ahead, Hal.
Well, I can't answer the question, but I know what he's talking about, the media campaign that I myself sent $350 for, too, to be part of. And that's a good question. I had forgotten about it myself. I don't know, does anybody here know?
Yeah, what has happened was, from the time of the inception of the sweepstakes program to the time that it was originally intended to be started, we had a lot of things change in the industry. One of them was we really did not get the dealer support that we needed to make the program a viable program. On top of that, the changes in the scrambling issue, the adverse advertising, warranted, with the input that we had from surveys we did with dealer board members and other dealers around the country, was they needed the main thrust to be put into an advertising campaign and for general PR work. The consensus of opinion was that the sweepstakes program, although it had some good ideas and some good intent behind it, was a little bit outmoded because of the fast-changing pace of the marketplace, and because of that, the sweepstakes program was canceled in lieu of hopefully a more responsive campaign in advertising and PR. Does that answer your question?
Guess it did.
I guess it did. Next caller, please. Go ahead, Clyde. Can you hear us? Clyde, you're on the air. Okay. While we're waiting for another call, one of the things I noticed, and I was kind of listening intently between Chuck and Taylor answering those phone calls, this industry has really matured, Bob. I know I started mentioning it to you, and then we came back to the panel. But did you notice when the President talked the State of the Union address, they had that bulletproof shield in front of him? Did you notice that? I've always been impressed by our country being so intent on protecting its president. Well, never let it be said that the satellite industry isn't as futuristic as the country as a whole in protecting its president. Because we have, it appears to me, a bulletproof little plastic shield that we had in front of Taylor and Chuck. Although they tried to center it, I'm not sure that it would have covered both of them. And maybe they were anticipating a little bit of a problem here tonight.
Did you notice it's quite low? It has a low profile? Does that suggest the cable industry shoots low?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think the real truth behind it is it's probably a microphone, but without knowing that ahead of time, I just kind of thought that maybe that was the situation.
I was impressed with the fact that we go to that great trouble to protect Taylor Howard. I wonder how many threats there have been.
I don't know. I thought Taylor had a pretty low profile, but maybe that's why the shield was low.
That's why its shield is low, of course.
Then I saw Irv Cook come in tonight, and I'm wondering, Irv, you're a manufacturer. Now, was it a problem with a distributor? Was it a dealer? Or the cable companies, maybe a programmer? What happened to you?
I swore that when I came to this convention, I was going to bring a tape recorder and tape this ahead of time so that for the 500th person that has asked me today what happened, I was just going to punch the tape recorder and let the tape recorder tell the story. The true story is that a little old lady...
Oh, boy. Are you ready for this?
This is the truth. A little old lady was in another lane and decided she needed my lane and pulled over with no signal, no nothing, and cut me off. And in slamming on the brakes to avoid hitting her, the rear end of my van did a right angle, and the front wheels caught the ditch, and I rolled 3 times. And fortunately, we all joke about it, but fortunately, that's the worst of it.
Well,
I might not have been here to appear on this panel.
Thank God.
So
you
I'm
rolled where
happy.
the car did as well. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Home satellite television, the promise of tomorrow, here today. Today there's a company bringing satellite TV into homes like yours. Chaparral Communications. Each Chaparral product delivers the performance you expect from satellite TV, the entertainment, sports, and news from around the world. See your Chaparral dealer and discover the Sierra satellite system. Everything you need to see tomorrow is at Chaparral today.
Okay, we have a call. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Elwin Curington from Fernandina Beach, Florida. And I'd like to know, we hear a lot about the scrambling talk, but what about the channel, the programming that's going to be up there? Haven't heard much about that. Could someone tell me more about maybe programming that's going up there and video all of the scrambling talk?
I'm not sure that any of us understand your question. Do you, Hal?
I think I understand what he's saying. Is what's coming in the future? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Owen?
that's right. We hear so much about scrambling, but how about the programming that's going to be available to us in the future or sometime soon?
Lloyd, I think you have an answer for that.
I think the emphasis is going away, obviously, from new pay movie services. We have narrowcast, especially educational and professional services coming up. Professional Educational Network, a California group called Discovery Computer Network is also going to launch a music service. We have the Apollo Entertainment Service, which is a la a bet type service. We have in the works several sports, regional sports feeds that are expected to launch this year. HBO next 2 weeks from now will start test marketing a service called Festival. And I asked them, well, is this a cross between American Movie Classics and HTN? And they didn't like that very much, but it will be geared towards the higher end. Initially scrambled, initially only 7 cable systems, but I think 8 to 9 months from now it will be generally available. The trend seems to be to try to duplicate, like you've seen the proliferation of music services, what works, and music videos to a degree are starting to get run into the ground, but the kinds of specialty services and data, audio subcarrier services are not, quote unquote, that interesting, but it really represents a wealth of the programming that's available because of the economy of the satellite system itself. A person doesn't have to set up a nationwide network. A person doesn't have to set up translators or towers in every city. This very economic satellite allows them to get a signal and put it on the air. Part of it, again, is a factor that many of the services, like the Discovery Channel, while they can't outwardly say so, they want to have our viewership in this market. And I think 6-8 months from now, other services will launch specifically for this target market, as well as some of the alternative delivery technologies like LPTV, MDS, and stay in the clear and really look to us for our viewership.
Okay, do we have another call? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Yes, my name is Tim Alderman. I'm calling from Oakland, California. My question is directed to Bob Cooper. I recently was very fortunate in being able to come up with $400, and somebody gave me, or I was able to purchase back issues of Coop Satellite Digest. My question is whether or not Bob intends to get more involved, actively involved in programming other than the occasional feeds that he does on Foresight.
Tim, good evening to you. I think probably you're making some reference to the fact that with a slight amount of ceremony last August, I wrote in the magazine that I felt the next real problems in the industry were going to be related to programming, and that if I could figure out a way to make the programming work better, I was going to have a shot at it. Are you still there, and is that what you're asking about?
Yes, yes, that is true. And at that time, you said that you sold the magazine, I believe, in September to Triple D for the specific purpose that you were going to concentrate more efforts on getting into being an active programmer. And as I said, I haven't seen much programming or anything that you've been involved with, other than, of course, Earth Station Day, other than the once-a-week occasional feed.
All right. Let me summarize that in 15 quick seconds. The amount of time it will take to launch a programming service funded either partially or totally by this industry will run in the years, not in the months. It certainly won't run in the weeks. And if you were listening closely earlier, you heard me say that I think the networks, in response to a lady from Pensacola, Florida, the replacement of the network services probably is our #1 primary objective right at the moment, is to make sure that we don't all suddenly wake up one day and find the 3 network services gone. And yes, I'm working on that. Fortunately, that means I can do it without having to do it myself personally, because the networks have a lot of very nice people who do it very well.
Right. Okay, well, we do appreciate your efforts, and keep up the good work, and we appreciate your help.
Thank you for calling, Tim.
No problem.
Jerry, we've got ourselves an exceptionally busy day tomorrow. Can you and I chat about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Chat.
Okay. First of all, in talking about the programming, I'd like to say that the response we've been getting on the viewership of our weekly show, Space Showtime, has been very encouraging. The response, especially from dealers and consumers as well. We find we have a lot of the cable industry watching our show. We're starting to get our manufacturers to watch our show. They're starting to say, oh, Space Showtime, when's that on? But we're getting them to watch, too. We're getting distributors to watch. We're getting a lot of good feedback, both written and a lot of phone calls are coming in.
Tomorrow we're going to give them 6 hours. We will find out. We're going to separate the men from the boys in one heck of a hurry tomorrow, right?
Great. Could you give us a rundown on some of the activities?
In terms of Eastern Standard Time, even though we're not there, it will start at 12 noon. It will run for 3 hours. And we will be televising the full course of the morning events as if you were right here in Las Vegas. And that will include the State of the Industry address by Taylor Howard, who was doing a dry run rehearsal, I think, this evening earlier for you. It will include a number of marketing-oriented and programming-oriented, scrambling-oriented sessions. So if you are a dealer, if you're not a dealer, if you're Jerry's mythical cable television operator sitting out there watching us, taping it, making transcriptions and selling them on the street corner the next day, we will give you 3 hours starting at 12 noon Eastern tomorrow, and that will run to 3 o'clock. And then we will be back, we being the satellite home television industry, tomorrow evening at the very same time, 9 p.m. Eastern until 12 midnight, with more of these kind of in-frank and in-depth discussions. Okay?
Very good. We're going to take one more call before we have to close it. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm a consumer, if you will, and first of all, I'd like to buy Mr. Cook a cigar for his comments at the beginning of the show. I couldn't agree with him more. Consumer philosophy at this end would be who cares if HBO scrambles or Cinemax scrambles? To follow that up a little, I made a call last week and talked with Showtime and the movie channel. I talked to their chief engineer after a few calls around, and he explained that they were going to be scrambling full-time, in his opinion, May 1st. And at which point he also brought up, or I brought up rather, that I was hoping that they would not pull the same thing that HBO and Cinemax did to the consumer, in as much as alienating them from wanting to buy their service, and that they would do it in a little more diplomatic way. What I do not agree with, at least in principle, is the gentleman that was the dealer second from the end. I'm sorry.